Good afternoon. I'm Ryan Siegel and welcome to SportsZone. I come today with a troubled heart. We are missing two of perhaps our more beloved members of our staff. Dan Lignato is gone for the semester and for the rest of this season. Dan will not be coming back before Deepak signs off once and for all. It's going to be a sad day. And Cody Cohen, our beloved Cody Cohen, is simply not here anymore. He is not here. We don't know where he is. Hopefully, we can manage to find him after spring break. But in honor of them, we would like to acknowledge them at this time. All right, moment's over. This is SportsZone.
Hello and welcome to another edition of SportsZone. I'm joined by Ryan, which means it must be Studio 90, the two-man panel. Once again, we're going to start off with some Champions League action. When we talked last week, it was before the second round of action in the round of 16 kicked off. Since then, Arsenal lost to Barcelona 2-0. Bayern and Juventus tied 2-2 in the first leg in Turin. And those are probably the two marquee matchups of the round. So, Ryan, Arsenal held firm against Arsenal for about 70 minutes. Then, in the snap of a finger, Lionel Messi strikes twice in the space of less than 11 minutes. They get the two away goals in London, and pretty much, for all intents and purposes, locks up the tie. Do you think Arsenal has any chance in the second leg, or do you think Barcelona will just roll over them?
Well, Barcelona's got it in the bag, unfortunately. Arsenal fans, I hate to say this, but it's pretty much over. Barcelona dominated, got two key away goals, which will be huge going into Camp Nou, and they've been dominant all season, by far the best team in the world. So, unfortunately, I think it's going to be Barcelona on the fast track to the finals.
Yeah, just to touch on Barcelona being the best team in the world, they're on one of the best streaks we've seen in club soccer in pretty much history. They have gone 34 games unbeaten in La Liga, in Copa del Rey, in Champions League. It's pretty remarkable. They're unstoppable, and I think at the Camp Nou where they play, they've not been held scoreless in something ridiculous, like 50 games. So they are just on a tear. It's kind of interesting just to see how much they're dominating everybody. They're leading La Liga by, I think, still 8 points. Real Madrid dropped points over the weekend, and Cristiano Ronaldo went out in the press and said, if everyone else on Real Madrid was on my level, we'd be in first place by a lot right now. Do you think that's the right type of attitude to have? Do you want that in your team from your superstar?
That's the worst type of attitude you want to have, especially from your superstar. Cristiano Ronaldo should be leading from the front, but he should not be making comments calling out the other 10 guys on his team. Real Madrid's a very talented roster, top to bottom, by far one of the top 5 teams in the world. So just because he's got to play against another very talented and very hot team right now in Barcelona doesn't mean that they'd necessarily be in first place. As you know just as well as I do, El Clasico, anything can happen. So I really think that that's not the statement you want to send to your fan base and to your teammates especially, because that really doesn't spark much of any positive energy, and you're really just hoping that they can keep it together as a team in the locker room.
Yeah, Real Madrid, for as much sustained success as they've had over the past 5-6 years, it's really been kind of remarkable. They've gone through 3 managers in the past calendar year. Now they have Zinedine Zidane. They were eliminated in the Copa del Rey by a technicality by playing an unqualified player. So it seems like there's a lot of pressure to succeed right there, and on Cristiano Ronaldo in particular, with the Champions League seeming to be their only route to realistically getting a trophy. But there's a lot of big teams left in there, and 2 of those played, as earlier mentioned. Bayern Munich and Juventus tied 2-2. Bayern got 2 away goals. However, Juventus worked back in the game, tied it up, mainly on the merit of Bayern overconfidently trying to play out from the back. They tried to play, Manuel Neuer tried to play out passes. They got picked off and scored a goal. So, I mean, going forward, Bayern, they do like to play a passing game. They are a little bit overconfident. Manuel Neuer does like to play with his feet and show that he's got a lot of skills. While that can be good when you're winning by a lot of goals, as it evidenced against Juventus, it really kind of hurt them. Do you think going forward, having that type of attitude really is gonna be troublesome going forward in the Champions League?
Well, I don't think they're going to have that attitude anymore. Pep Guardiola is definitely going to keep them in check. They did get 2 key away goals, but they tied 2-2. It would have been different if they walked away like Barcelona did with a 2-0 advantage on the road. That would have pretty much been all but over. But now anything can happen because pretty much whoever wins the game is moving on. So we'll really see what goes on. I think Pep Guardiola will keep them in check. Bayern has normally had remarkable second legs where they've rattled off like excesses of 4 goals in seemingly the last 3 years in the Champions League. So I definitely think you're going to see a fresh-looking Bayern, and I think they're going to take this one a little less lightly or a little more seriously than they did out in Turin.
Yeah, definitely. To touch on that point, it was just last year in this same round they played Porto and lost the first leg, I think either 2-1 or 3-1. Then when they returned to Munich in the Allianz Arena, I think they won 7-0. So those big second legs you're talking about really kind of separate them from the rest of the pack. So we think Bayern and Arsenal, or Bayern's going through, Arsenal going out. The other big matchups that we touched on last week, PSG, Chelsea, and as well as, well, we'll start with PSG and Chelsea. They finished 2-1 to PSG. They're returning to Chelsea, returning to London for this leg. Who do you see going through?
PSG. Chelsea is still in shambles after many would consider a failed season in Stamford Bridge. I definitely think that PSG is going to move on. They've been playing a lot better soccer. Chelsea, you never know which Chelsea's going to show up, and Chelsea with a crippled back line it's only a matter of time before they give in to PSG's attack. So I got PSG going on over Chelsea.
The other big matchup, which I stumbled on and couldn't figure out, was Roma against Real Madrid. Roma lost 2-0 at home to Real Madrid. So do we see Cristiano Ronaldo, are his teammates going to be on his level in the second leg?
I don't think they'll need to. I think they have it in the bag already. I don't think Roma's a talented enough team to keep up with Real Madrid, especially at the Bernabeu. So I've got Real Madrid moving on as well.
Yeah, it seems going forward, lots of the favorites going through what we expected. We'll see where that happens at the end of 2 weeks when the Champions League draw for the quarterfinals occurs. But that's all the time we have now for Studio 90. Stick around for more Sports Zone. Hello and welcome back to Sports Zone. This is our NBA segment, Throwing It Up. I'm joined by Michael and Jake, and we're going to start talking about the reigning NBA champions, the Golden State Warriors, who are chasing history, I think currently at 50-5 after a big win on NBA's Saturday Night Showcase on ABC, where Steph Curry made a ridiculous half-court shot to win the game over the Thunder to carry them to 50-5. So now the talks are really there about whether or not Golden State is going to get to that Chicago Bulls iconic historic record. They're trying to downplay it, but we're going to talk about it. We'll start with you, Michael. Do you think if they can avoid losing 5 more games, they're going to keep the record? Do you think they're playing well enough to do that?
I think so. Obviously it's always kind of difficult to predict, this team's only going to lose 9 games the entire season. But, they look unbeatable. Steph Curry's playing out of his mind, probably even better than last year. He's already broken his own 3-point record. And it's just one of those teams that is just kind of in God mode. They're still like a cheat code kind of thing where there's really nothing that's been going wrong for them at all. And they've taken on the heavy hitters. They beat the Spurs. They beat the Thunder. They've beaten all these teams that, are supposed to challenge them. The Spurs especially. And, they've kind of, been able to deal with it and move on. So I think we're witnessing history, yes.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that because for one thing, they're a very young team. So really, even when you get down the stretch, they're not a team that's full of veterans. Most of their key players are very young. So when you get down the stretch, they're not going to even need to worry so much about resting their players. Honestly, any team needs to worry about resting their players, make sure they're fresh for the playoffs. But it's not a team full of older veterans that need that rest more than other players. So they'll probably want to finish as strong as they can. So being a young team, I also think that also improves their chances of just finishing out the season very strong and obtaining that record. So I think there's a very good chance that they beat the Bulls record.
Definitely, and it seems they're going to be unchallenged, obviously, for the first place spot in the West. And the team that currently is holding the first place spot in the East, Cleveland, while they've led the league probably from the beginning of the year, there's been a little bit of turmoil surrounding them with the firing of their coach David Blatt, and now apparently rumors that Kyrie Irving is unhappy in Cleveland. He's clashed a couple times with LeBron, so trouble in the kingdom there. Obviously, it doesn't seem like it's going to affect their standings in the Eastern Conference, and I don't know what effect it will have at all. Michael, do you see any effect with Kyrie Irving not being happy? Is that news?
I don't know if it'll have too much effect this season. I mean, I feel like with any LeBron team really, especially the Cavaliers, there's always swirls of rumors about a player being unhappy. Everyone thought Kevin Love wanted to get the heck out of Cleveland. He was there. He ended up re-signing. So I'm not sure immediately what kind of effect it has. But I think could become an issue if things get a little tough. If they stumble a little bit, if they get into kind of a bad streak, I think it'll become an issue. But it's a little too late to trade him really, and I don't really see it impacting them too much.
Jake, do you think this is just much ado about nothing?
Yeah, I mean, Kyrie Irving's always kind of a player you see, kind of blows off a little bit of hot air. You hear he's unhappy here, unhappy there. But I think as long as the team is winning, which as long as they have that core of Kyrie, Kevin, and LeBron, they're gonna keep winning. I mean, they're my team. I predict them to make it to the finals. I still predict Golden State to win. But I think as long as they keep experiencing success in him making the money that he's been making, success and money would keep players happy. As long as he keeps getting the recognition he feels like he deserves. I think that he might not be happy right now, but in the long run, I don't think he's going to leave the team. He's a professional, so I don't think that feeling a little upset will affect his play at all. So I think in the long run, this is all just going to blow over.
I think that's a good point too. Is where's he going to go? That's not Cleveland. I mean, a lot of the best teams in the West are already pretty figured out at point guard, and there's really nobody else in the East where if we get Kyrie Irving, we're going to be contenders. We're going to challenge Cleveland for the conference. So if he wants to win, I mean, there's really nowhere he can go but Cleveland.
Yeah, winning usually seems to solve everything, and probably in the long run, another trip to the finals may make Kyrie feel a little bit more happy going forward. We kind of touched on trade stuff last week, and not a lot of trades really happened, but this week, I guess a marquee name, or at least a former marquee name, All-Star Joe Johnson, was waived and was picked up by the Heat, who I guess with news swirling that Chris Bosh potentially being done for the year, picking up Joe Johnson to kind of complement Dwayne Wade and the team they have down there. Do we see that having any impact on maybe playoff seeding, or will the Heat be a more formidable contender in the East with his move? We'll start with you, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt him at all. I think it could certainly help them in an Eastern Conference that's pretty wide open except for the top spot. I think they could make some noise. I think maybe we end up with that coveted Cleveland-Miami matchup in the playoffs, because I don't, no one else in the East, maybe the Raptors, but really nobody else has really convinced me that they're going to make that. I have to sort of write them in to the conference finals with the Cavaliers. So I think maybe they can snatch the division away, but I think definitely in the playoffs they're gonna be a tough out.
Definitely, Jake.
Right. I mean, Joe Johnson definitely is a quality player. He definitely upgrades that swingman position on that team. But of course, as you mentioned, if Chris Bosh goes down for the year, I do really think that this team, if Chris Bosh is out for the year as he was last year's team, I mean, they are done for all extensive purposes. I mean, they could still claim the 8th seed without Chris Bosh, but I mean, and that will actually lead to the Miami Cavs matchup. So I mean, we will probably get it, even if Chris Bosh goes down, but really, I mean, Joe Johnson's a quality add. If Chris Bosh is there, he's a player that could definitely help them make a playoff push. But this is a team that's not quite on the verge of contending just yet. So it's a quality move for them, but in the grand scheme of the NBA and the Eastern Conference, it really doesn't change the landscape too much.
Definitely, yeah. There definitely seems to be an imbalance of the powers in the NBA, and we seem on a collision course towards another Golden State-Cleveland final. We'll keep an eye on that going forward. That's all the time we have now for throwing it up. We'll stick around for more Sports Zone.
Welcome back to Sports Zone. I'm Nathaniel Gaffin. This is AU Insiders. This weekend, it was Senior Day on Saturday at Bender Arena, where both the men and women played Loyola Marymount of Maryland. Yeah, of Maryland. And the men had a big win where Andrea Maddock hit a game-winning free throw to put the Eagles up 67-66, making them the 6th-ranked seed in the up-and-coming Patriot League tournament. The boys play Boston University at Boston on Thursday at 3 p.m. At 3 p.m. Make sure that you come to MGC and show your Eagles pride. Finally, also, the women unfortunately fell short, losing to Loyola Marymount at a score of 55-50, and they will be ending out the season against Navy on Wednesday at 7 p.m. here at Bender Arena. We do not know their current standing in the Patriot League tournament, but we hope that they have as great a result as last year. Moving on, along with the men, freshman Delonte Jones was selected Freshman Player of the Year in the Patriot League, which is huge for this up-and-coming young squad. Jesse Reed was also was again selected to the second team All-Patriot League team, and was the only American Eagle selected to any of the first 3 teams in the whole Patriot League division. Finally, here on Sunday, AU Athletics hosted with a service opportunity to help participate or help aid with the Special Olympics. It was a great time enjoyed by all who were able to participate, and AU Athletics hopes to have a future partnership with the Special Olympics in the upcoming years. This is Nate from SportsZone for AU Insiders. See you at the game.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sports Zone. This is our premier college basketball segment. I'm joined alongside with Deepak Bhagat. And once again, more news and more just fluctuation in the top 25 rankings this week. Kansas has now taken over the number 1 spot as Villanova lost this weekend. So Deepak, just kind of break down the whole, now that Kansas is number 1, and what's going to happen to the Villanova Wildcats?
I think what's interesting here is that Villanova really got, in my opinion, shafted just a little bit. They lost to Xavier. It was a heartbreaking loss. However, that should not have affected them that much. I know that sounds kind of odd, me saying that the number 1 team falling to the number 5 team. But that being said, they dropped to the number 3 position in the top 5. I'll break down the top 5 right now, where it stands as Kansas, Michigan State, Villanova, Virginia, and Xavier. Xavier, following their win against Villanova, actually ended up losing later on in the week too. So that begs the question, how did they maintain their top 5 ranking? They lost to an unranked team as well. So I'm kind of upset over that. More upset, though, I think, over the fact that Michigan State is now number 2. Michigan State hopped up from number 6 to number 2. I think that really does shake it up a little more than it should be. Of course, much like with the rest of this season and how the year's gone, anything, and I mean absolutely anything, can happen. I mean, Ryan, we were just talking about how Wisconsin could be making a play to enter the top 25, and it as well as should, because you look at some of the teams at the bottom right now. You have Texas down there, SMU, and Cal. SMU got off to a great start. Do you think Wisconsin, though, should have been in this a while ago?
I think so. They've kind of still played relatively consistent basketball when you look at some of the teams in the top 25 who have 7 losses.
Yeah.
For example, West Virginia and Louisville, and Wisconsin's sitting around the same amount. It's really interesting to kind of think about how Wisconsin has not made the top 25. They went to the national championship game last year. They dethroned Kentucky. Kentucky's sitting in 22nd with 8 losses, and Iowa with 9 losses. Honestly, Wisconsin should have been at least in the top 25 for the overwhelming majority of the year. I just think it's going to be interesting for many people who love bracketology. This is not probably going to be your best year for that, because there's simply never or not a clear number 1 team that has asserted it. We've had probably the most number 1 teams in the country in college basketball history this year. Deepak, what is this going to do to people who make their livings on building brackets?
I think it's really going to be quite a scramble. When Selection Sunday happens and all this goes down, the brackets are officially announced, people are going to be really scrambling, really testing their limits on what they know about the sport. And I don't care how much you do know about college basketball. Nothing is perfect when it comes down to March Madness. And I think, Warren Buffett likes to throw in that $1 million challenge. I think he's going to up it. I think he'll probably up it just for his own personal amusement, to see what could really happen here. But I definitely feel like you're never in the wrong, betting on teams like Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, Nova. Even teams like Michigan State as well, who years ago, and when I say years ago, I mean even 5 years ago, they weren't really seen as a top contender. Yes, Tomlins has been a solid coach all throughout, but then Michigan State really has solidified themselves, bringing back that relevance back from the time when Magic Johnson used to play for them. So in terms of those who are into bracketology, good luck. I think that we have a lot to look forward to.
I think we have a lot to look forward to as well, as we tried to build our own personal brackets.
Oh, we'll be doing this for a SportsZone thing too. So
My bracket last year, beyond horrible. This year, probably not going to be much better at the rate this is going.
Yeah.
But it seems like every March Madness for the last 5 or 6 years, there's been that one Cinderella story team. Deepak, who do you think that Cinderella is? Could it be a team like Temple? Could it be an Ivy League? Is it going to be some team from a no-name conference? Who do you think that Cinderella team is going to be?
I think it definitely could be Temple. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a homer. I mean, I'm a big homer. Anyone here can tell you that. But Temple, I definitely think, has that chance to really make that push. You saw what they did last year. They were a team that deserved much more coming into this season as well. I say look out for a team like Temple.
All right. We definitely will look out for a team like Temple, and maybe they'll get their push in the tournament, and maybe they'll draw favorable seeding.
Maybe.
If American somehow finds a way to get there, maybe
That's
they
not
play.
happening. I'm sorry, Mike Running.
We can all hope. Well, anyway, that's all the time we have for this edition of our college basketball segment, alongside with Deepak Bhagat. I'm Ryan Siegel. More SportsZone coming to you after this.
Hi everyone, welcome back to IceTime. I'm Rachel Hopmayer, here to kick off our three-man panel. I'm super pumped to be starting this. We're going to start it off today, February 29th, is deadline day. Deadline was at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Super excited for all the trades that have been going on the past few days. We're going to start with Boone Jenner, which was probably one of the biggest no-brainer trades, 2-year extension. But as of Columbus's club policy, they don't officially discuss term deals. However, Bob McKenzie, famous TSN sportscaster, said it's rumored to be about $2.9 million, which is a lot for him, but he's had a lot of career highs this season in goals and assists. He's tied 22 goals, 13 assists for 35 points. He's also had 65 penalty minutes in 63 games, which is a lot for someone in his position. However, he's certainly making his name known in the club.
Well, yeah, I definitely think that Boone Jenner was a slam dunk signing for Columbus. I think it was pretty obvious that he was going to stay, big enforcer. Definitely makes his presence felt anytime he's on the ice. Nobody else was really probably going to take him. He's a guy known for racking up penalty minutes, but he's an enforcer that Columbus really doesn't have on their roster.
I agree. Next up for the trades, we've got Lee Stepniak to Boston from the New Jersey Devils in exchange for a 4th-round pick in 2016 and a 2nd-round pick in 2017. I'm a little wary about this trade myself because he's been with 6 teams over the past 3 seasons, and he really hasn't had a lot of time to prove himself. He's been with Calgary, Pittsburgh, Rangers, Winnipeg, and lastly the Devils. So I'm looking forward to see what else he's really going to contribute to the last half of the season. Next, we've got Brendan Sutter to join his dad as the Kings, Daryl Sutter's coach, in exchange for Minnesota forward Scott Sabourin. A lot of forwards going back and forth this season, and I really think it's just because people are finding line issues everywhere.
Yeah, definitely should be interesting with Brendan Sutter going to play for his dad. His dad has won 2 Stanley Cups. Brendan Sutter, it has been a very long time since he won a Stanley Cup. And since this is an even year, it's supposed to mean that the Kings go to the finals this year.
Yeah.
Whether that actually will happen, I don't know. I think Chicago's probably going to go back. But it'll be interesting to see. I think Brendan Sutter is a great penalty kill specialist. It'll make it very interesting for the Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah.
So next up, in terms of more family news, we've got the Stahl brothers reunited on the Rangers. Eric Stahl went to the Rangers from Carolina to join his brother. What do you guys think about that?
As a Rangers fan, I am happy about it than I thought I would be. The Rangers have a little bit of a reputation for mortgaging the future and making risky moves for sort of declining veterans, but they only gave up 2 second-round picks and then a finished prospect as well, who's apparently very good. But considering people are talking about sending JT Miller or Chris Kreider to the Hurricanes, really not bad at all. Hopefully gets Tanner Glass out of the lineup because he really doesn't contribute too much. And especially with Nash being injured for a while, and given that Stahl, I don't know if he's going to play too much center, but he's been known to win faceoffs, so that's something the Rangers really need help with.
I agree. I think it's really good insurance as well. Probably the trade that I'm personally most upset about. I hate to see longtime tenured players with a team go. We've seen a lot of trades this weekend, especially with longtime captains being traded, which people have come to me asking, is that a normal thing? And unfortunately it is. although Brooks Lake wasn't a captain, he was the longest tenured player on the Washington Capitals. He has been with the team since 2003, and he was traded. He was placed on waivers this weekend and officially traded very late last night. In exchange for Brooks Lake and Connor Carrick and a 2016 second-round pick, Washington got Daniel Winnick and a fifth-round pick next year from Toronto. They already have pictures of him in his brand new jersey. He has been in a 47-game goal drought. He had like 2 points this season. I just feel terrible. He's established such a home here, but this does give him the cap room to reactivate Beagle from long-term IR.
Well, I definitely think it'll be interesting now that Brooks is gone. He was definitely what you consider an overpriced fourth line centerman. Fourth line centermen don't get paid $3 million a year in the National Hockey League. That's obscene, and it really doesn't happen anywhere. But Ted Leonsis is a great owner, very loyal to his senior players. So it makes sense as why Brooks Lake got money. Unfortunately, I know it makes you very upset that you'll not get to see him around the Verizon Center anymore. But he's moving on. He's going to play for a great coach in Mike Babcock up in Toronto, I think. It could potentially help flourish his somewhat declining career.
Yes, a lot of the players were very emotional about his exchange. Ovi tweeted today many pictures of them saying like, oh, you've been with me since my first year. So it's really nice to see how much of a family still is in the NHL. Two trades that we just got in right before filming. Corey Trott from Chicago, he's been playing in their minor leagues lately, to Anaheim. And speaking of Kings, Anaheim and the West Coast have been very active this weekend in terms of trades. And we've been talking about how Anaheim and West Coast teams have been such intense goal-scoring teams this season that it's crazy to see them shaking it up even more. But I think a lot of them have been the right moves. I think they've been very cautious. So Corey Trott to Anaheim in exchange for Tim Jackman and a 2017 7th-round draft pick. And Patrick Maroon was just traded to Edmonton from Anaheim, but no word on what was received from that yet. That just came off of NHL Network. I don't know. I think it's been a crazy weekend.
It's definitely been a real crazy weekend. There's been a lot of moves. The Western Conference is really the wild, wild west, where offense takes precedent. The Eastern Conference has played a lot more of a defensive-minded game, a lot better goaltending, a lot more focus on blocking shots. The West, however, has revamped offenses across the board. Definitely should be interesting to see how this rest of the season plays out. In the respective divisions, I don't think anybody's going to chase the Capitals down. Florida, shocking the world right now, and then probably Chicago and the Kings still going to retain their division titles. Playoff time will be very interesting this year, that's for sure.
I agree. Yeah, a lot of mini AHL trades too this weekend that definitely didn't make headlines, but still a lot of farm teams working their own things without hitting NHL stage. Other than that, the outdoor games we've had lately have been absolutely amazing, with the Wild being Chicago 6-1. What a record breaker. What a beautiful game to be played in the snow. And this past weekend, although it wasn't as exciting, it was fun to see the snow cotton that NBC provided blowing everywhere.
Yeah. It makes it very interesting. Provides a different outlook on outdoor games. The NHL has really done a great job with the whole Coors Light Stadium Series, making it into what it is, making more than just the outdoor game, the Winter Classic. Even though I was more of a Winter Classic purist, per se, where that was the outdoor game, they've done a great job bringing hockey to a bunch of different markets that normally would not get national airtime, and kind of reinvigorating some old rivalries that many people on the East Coast or the West Coast don't really get to see. Like, most people don't get to see Colorado and Detroit going at it outdoors. So it will provide a possibly very interesting dynamic. There's talk of the Penguins and the Flyers getting together next year. The NHL has the outdoor series going in the right places.
Absolutely. The only thing that could have made it better was a Patrick Waugh fight with a Detroit Red Wings goalie.
I agree. I think everyone's a little hesitant to put the fist-to-faces on air, but, seeing those rivalries and the guys who grew up playing hockey in the Midwest, especially outdoors on the ponds, it's really invigorating to see them back in their natural habitat, and I think it's awesome. I agree that something happening at State College would be amazing, and I'm sure all the teams out there would love to be able to get on that ice. But again, I think it's been something great. I don't think it's been overdone entertainment-wise. I think the performances have been super appropriate, and it's really great to see NHL expanding, not in a bandwagon way, but people really getting into it for these kind of events. That's all we have this week, but we look forward to seeing you again.
Hello, welcome back to Sports Zone. This is our Rapid Fire segment, not to be confused with ATV's Rapid Fire, where we talk about pretty much everything that can't fit in a standard segment. I'm joined alongside with Vince Salandro. And Vince, lots of big news. Peyton Manning has announced that there will be an announcement that he is officially retiring. Vince, break that down. Why are we announcing an announcement?
I don't know. I guess it's the NFL offseason. There's not really a lot going on. They're really fishing for headlines, fishing for attention. The combine's not really getting a big draw. I don't know. I think it's kind of silly. He's probably going to draw a press conference and all that mumbo jumbo. And I just think it's not necessary. You just announce it or you don't. You don't announce the announcement. I think that's silly. It's attention seeking. And just Peyton Manning, it's unnecessary.
Last time somebody announced an announcement was LeBron James when he decided to go to the Miami Heat. They had a 1-hour special on ESPN called The Decision. So hopefully this doesn't manifest into something along those lines. Moving back to his arch nemesis, Tom Brady recently signed a 2-year extension with the New England Patriots. No surprises there. Brady will once again be back in a Patriots jersey and probably will finish his career in a Patriots jersey. Swinging over to the NASCAR track where all they do is turn left, except for road courses, Jimmy Johnson captured his 76th win, tying Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s record. Johnson's NASCAR career started 8 months after Earnhardt died. Vince, take us through what this means to Jimmy Johnson in the sport of NASCAR.
Well, Jimmy Johnson has been the mecca. He's dominated the sport over the last, recently 5, 6, 7 years. He's been consistently winning titles. I think there was a stretch where he won 3 or 4 Sprint Cup titles in a row. So he has been the face of NASCAR for a very long time in the Lowe's car. So I think this is just a natural milestone. It's a big milestone for him, but it's just kind of a testament to how he's really dominated the sport recently.
Absolutely. Lastly, in fighting, Bisping beats Anderson Silva. Huge. Anderson Silva is not really a guy that is known to take a loss, but definitely very interesting to realize that, the mighty can fall. Ronda Rousey has proven that, and now Anderson Silva has proven that. However, that is all the time we have here for Rapid Fire. For more Sports Zone, stay tuned after this. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sports Zone. This is our favorite segment. Well, at least Vince and my favorite segment. It's not Deepak's. He has made that abundantly clear in the last 2 weeks. But it is Thumble. Thumbs up, thumbs down, when we talk about the good, the bad, and sometimes the ugly in the world of sports. So we're going to jump in right there, as our famous producer loves to say. Thumbs up to the Rangers for getting Eric Staal, which is going to be a big trade. Should be very interesting. He's a lot younger than a guy like Martin St. Louis. So, should be interesting. Now all we need to do is get Jordan. Then we can have the Staal family root for one team in the National Hockey League. Thumbs up to the fact that spring break is next week. That is going to be huge. It's going to be a much-needed time off. Unfortunately, however, we will not be able to send you guys Sports Zone. We're all very sad about that. Thumbs down to midterms. I'm just rattling off ones that Cody Cohen would do because he is unfortunately not here today. Thumbs down to midterms because boo. Thumbs down to Kyrie Irving for having an attitude over LeBron James. Just deal with it. He's the best player in the world. He can do whatever he wants. Nobody's going to change his mind. He pretty much single-handedly got David Blatt fired. Thumbs up to the Golden State Warriors for just absolutely dominating. Thumbs down to Brooks Light being traded. He was a really nice guy to see around the arena, and it's going to be a shame to not have to see him as much. You're going to have to get used to seeing Daniel Winnick around. Thumbs up to the fact that baseball is back. Hopefully the Yankees can find some religion and maybe actually make a playoff push. Probably won't happen. However, we do have the mystery man Aroldis Chapman as our closer now. So really should be interesting when it comes to that. Thumbs down to Peyton Manning retiring. He was one of my favorite football players. He was really a spectacle to watch. He absolutely picked apart the New York Jets, as he did many other teams in the league. So thumbs down to Peyton Manning for that. And just one quick pop culture thing. Thumbs down to Deepak for not watching the Oscars like every other person in America last night. Well, in other words, I'm going to turn it over to Vince.
All right, we're gonna jump in right here with a thumbs up to the Legends of Pittsburgh cruise. Over the weekend, a cruise featuring major Pittsburgh icons such as James Harrison, Antonio Brown, and musical legends in Pittsburgh were hosting a cruise. There was a group of 16 people stranded in the middle of the ocean. Cruise stopped to pick up said people, rescue them, and bring them aboard the Legends of Pittsburgh cruise. That says it right there. I mean, Legends of Pittsburgh, Philadelphia less than Pittsburgh. Thumbs down this week is going to go to Arsenal. Pathetic, pitiful, embarrassing, and awful would be words I would use to describe their loss to Manchester United, who had an 18-year-old who had never played in the Premier League before come on and score a brace, scored 2 goals. It was awful, just terrible. Their Premier League title chase is just falling by the wayside. Thumbs up to the AU men's basketball team. They ended the year on a 4-game winning streak that clinched the 6th seed, the same seed they had last year when they reached the Patriot League final before falling to Lafayette. Thumbs up to Deepak, scrutinizing and really agonizing over everything I'm saying in this segment. I'm really feeling the heat. And thumbs up is going to go to VCU basketball again. Virginia Commonwealth, they bounced back after an awful loss to George Mason to beat GW, local rivals GW. Not a fan of George Washington, and VCU was able to pull off the W over them. That's all for me this week.
Okay, so a quick thumbs up to the New York Rangers not screwing up the Eric Stahl trade. They have kind of a very sort of sad and tortured history of overvaluing these veterans that they don't really re-sign. And thankfully they only gave up 2 second-round picks and then a prospect who's still playing in Finland. So he could end up being very good, this guy, but you know, I'm willing to make that sacrifice if it gets the Ranger closer to that cup. Thumbs down to Peyton Manning retiring, I guess. I mean, you know, I always enjoyed his presence in the league. I thought he was. I love the rivalry between he and Brady. But at the same time, it was kind of time for him to go. So, thumbs up for him. Probably not dying of a neck injury anytime soon. Thumbs down to not being allowed to talk about the Oscars. Also, thumbs down. The only Oscars thing I will say, Abe Vigoda was not in the in memoriam segment, which is kind of weird. So yeah, I don't know why that was. I guess because he technically died in 2016, but not in 2015. But you know, whatever that is. And thumbs up for Delonte Jones winning the Patriot League Freshman of the Year for the American University Eagles. Really excited to see how Mike Brennan's recruiting class looks, especially considering it's only his 3rd year coaching. Really interested to see what kind of talent he brings in, and if Delonte Jones is any sort of signal of what's to come. I am very, very positive on.
All right, thumbs up to Marquise King for signing a $16.5 million 5-year deal, re-signing with the Raiders in those terms, and proving that once again that punters can also make money. Also, a big thumbs up to the American University Rugby Football Club for defeating UMBC this weekend. They were helped by the first career try of Skylar Van Dorsdale and by a magnificent try by Matthew Hawkland, as well as 2 tries, one of which being one of the most magnificent things I've ever seen, by Reed Murphy. Thank you. And the next competition for the team will be the Four Leafs Rugby Tournament in New York City over St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Thumbs down to Vincent Ryan just because. Thumbs down to Cody because he's not here. Thumbs down to Vince because Vince. Thumbs down again to Vince because of his identity crisis. You are from Virginia. Pick a place, Virginia or Pittsburgh. You can't be both. Thumbs up to Rachel coming back. Thumbs down to Rachel disappearing because she's not on this right now. Thumbs up to Dan because he messaged me. He said he watched the last week's episode and cried. So thumbs up to the fact that we have 2 guys who cried on the show. Except this time we don't have evidence of Dan crying. Thumbs up to Special Olympics. It was a great success yesterday. Hopefully it becomes a running thing for American University to help out. Thumbs up, baseball is back, because baseball is always back. Thumbs up to Kristen, who's not in here right now, but she's right outside. She will be recording us over the next, I believe, few episodes for a video project, so that's going to be fun. We have a little bit of candidness going on, truth will out, as they always say. Thumbs up to Olivia. A special someone of Vince is coming in, helping out. I think that's all I got. Yeah, that's all I got. So for Vince, for Ryan, for Jake, for Michael, for Rachel, for Aviva, for Olivia, for Kristen, not for Cody. For Nate, I'm Deepak. Like Ryan said, we won't be here next week, but have a great spring break, and we will see you in Dos Semanas.
Hold on, Deepak.
No, he doesn't know it though. He doesn't. I didn't want to spoil it.
Okay, we're gonna say that tomorrow after you watch the Oscars. Because Jake's got a really, really funny thumbs.
I will end all of you.
You're gonna die.
I know I'm good at that.
Hold on, we're getting like sneezing in the background. Good night. 5, 4. Hold on, Deepak. Hold on 1 second. Somebody tell them to be quiet.
I should just close the door.
Like, crack it. Leave it crack.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we gotta leave it cracked. So.
It's fine. It's recording. All right. You want me to record this part?
Is it recording?
Yeah, you can hit record and then just start whatever.
Okay.
This is looking like a great intro.
This is a solid intro, right, Deepak?
Is this everybody?
We're gonna start with Steph Curry.
Count it down.
Then we're gonna go
5,
Kyrie Irving.
4, 3.
Where else are we gonna
2.
go? Okay, then Joe Johnson. I guess we'll see.
I think we're clear.
I'm not gonna say we're clear. We could just watch.
We're waiting
this.
for the blooper reel.
We're just gonna watch until I stumble on PSG Chelsea 5 more times. I
Or they're
couldn't
gonna
for
wait
the, I
until you
couldn't
cry.
for the life of me think of.
They're gonna wait until you cry on camera.
You're clear. Sorry, the mic wasn't.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
okay. Let's say the lights went dark.
Yes.
Nobody said anything.
It was just, you know.
He's a little worried.